coming up on Film Nerd by Night.
That appears to be the nail in the coffin for J.J.Abrams' reboot franchise. I really thought if you're gonna take a property like Star Trek and make it play in the market of 2009, I don't know if there was any better way to do that, and I thought they did an excellent job doing that. I gotta tell you, I'm kinda sad about this.
And now, the show.
All right, folks, I'm Cole Powell, musician by day, film nerd by night, and today we're talking about the death of J.J. Abrams' Chris Pine-led Star Trek reboot franchise. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this show. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, hit the hype button. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the Film Nerd by Night channel. I'm going to put some of these videos up on my other two channels until we can get the film channel going. But the Film Nerd by Night channel is where you're going to want to subscribe for movie news, reviews, trailer reactions, movie reactions. And also, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We're trying to build up the Patreon support. I've got some Patreon support for one of my other channels. And let me tell you, without that Patreon support, we would not be able to make the content because it is really hard to make money on YouTube in 2026 if you're a small channel, particularly if you're starting from scratch like I'm trying to do with Film Nerd by Night channel. So please consider subscribing for full-length movie reactions and early access to videos like these. This was reported a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if Variety was the first outlet to run it, but that's where I pulled the story from. Chris Pine tells future Star Trek bosses to have fun and good luck with the franchise. Couple of pull quotes here. The actor was asked about Paramount's new leadership and what they have in store for the space franchise. The answer was simple. You probably know more than I do. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, the duo behind the Pine starring Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, are writing, producing, and directing a new Star Trek film that will seek to revitalize the franchise. The new film will not be a continuation of the J.J. Abrams-led reboot of the series and won't feature Pine, who played Captain Kirk in 3 Star Trek movies between 2009 and 2016. When asked if he had any advice for the new Paramount leadership in regards to Star Trek, Pine answered, "Advice? Have fun, good luck, live long and prosper." So that appears to be the nail in the coffin for J.J. Abrams' reboot franchise, also known as the Kelvin films, the Kelvin timeline. Also, New Trek. I think in New Trek at some point they were being referred to as. I got to tell you, I'm kind of sad about this. I occupy a rather odd space in Trek fandom. I am somebody who grew up on the original series, reruns, and Next Generation that was currently running when I was a kid, when I was a little kid. And then I got into Voyager later, which I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people hated Voyager, a lot of people hate Voyager, and I have more problems with it the older I get, but still enjoy that show. So I liked the 60s era. I liked most of the movies from the 80s, and then Undiscovered Country came out in the 90s. And then I also like the 90s era with Next Gen and Voyager, a little bit of DS9, and also the Next Generation movies, and even a little bit of Enterprise. But I also really liked the J.J. Abrams reboot in 2009 when it came out. And I know there were a lot of Star Trek fans, particularly old school or the fans from the 90s, that didn't care for it because it was a different thing. It kind of lost the cerebral element of the original Star Trek that Gene Roddenberry was insistent on putting in the show, and it made it so good, so unique. And he actually had to pull back on that. It was a little bit more cerebral on the pilot episode than it would be later, and he had kind of pulled back on that and redo the pilot with William Shatner. But I really thought that if you're gonna take a property like Star Trek and try to make it play in the market of today or the market of 2009, I don't know if there was any better way to do that than to take some of the best elements of it, remix it a little bit, kind of add a little bit more of a modern flair, a little bit more of a Star Wars flair, and put it on the screen. And I thought they did an excellent job doing that. And I loved it for what it was. It was Star Trek for the Star Wars set, I will say. And I'm a Star Wars fan too, even though I think Trek is it's definitely smart. I won't necessarily say it's better because there are a lot of factors you have to weigh to get that make that kind of quality statement. But I will say that it's a more intelligent, more cerebral property, and they took the franchise and tried to make it a little bit more action oriented, like Star Wars, and I thought it worked well. I loved it. The second movie, the Star Trek Into Darkness, I also thought was really well done. I enjoyed the alternate timeline. I enjoy alternate timelines. One of the things that I love so much about Star Trek: The Next Generation or Voyager, that they would do these alternate universes, alternate timelines, and that's what Into Darkness was, basically a flip of Wrath of Khan. And I enjoyed that about it. It wasn't as good as the first movie, I didn't think, but I still thought it was pretty good. The third movie, J.J. Abrams left to go do Star Wars, and they did Star Trek Beyond with, who was that? Justin Lin? Directed that. I wasn't a fan. That didn't do anything for me. They were trying to say, well, this is more like the original series. Yeah, it was more like the parts of the original series where they were on a planet fighting against aliens, but they still took out the cerebral part. So it was no longer as interesting as the other two that were a little more action and space oriented without the intellect, without the cerebral element. So what a big fan of that. And I haven't gotten into the new stuff at all. It doesn't look appealing to me. The only one that looked appealing to me was Picard. And I watched the first episode of Picard, and I absolutely hated it. And I have never checked out another new Star Trek series since. So I was kind of hoping that they would bring back the Chris Pine cast for one more movie. It's been talked about. It's been kicked around. At one point, Quentin Tarantino was going to do a Star Trek movie. And there was talk about it being the Chris Pine cast, and I don't think there was ever any confirmation one way or another on that. Maybe there has been since the last time I read anything on that. But Tarantino decided not to do the movie, and they were working on a fourth one. At one point, there was going to be Chris Hemsworth was going to return as Kirk's time-traveling dad. It was going to be a father-son time-traveling buddy movie, which sounds good. I'd watch that, particularly with Chris Hemsworth in the role. And that got canceled, I think, because one of the Chris's just couldn't, maybe, I can't remember what was Hemsworth or Pond, but they couldn't get the script worked out like they wanted to, maybe some money involved. But I was still holding out hope that they were going to do a fourth one because of all of the modern era Star Trek, the Kelvin films, the J.J. Abrams reboot, that's the only property that really interests me as a Star Trek fan. And I'd like to see a final entry that was better than Beyond that I don't particularly care for. But it appears that ship has sailed. And what was strange, whenever it was announced that these directors were doing it, and they had just worked with Chris Pine on Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which I really enjoyed. I know nothing about Dungeons & Dragons. I never played it. I never watched any, I think it was like an animated series, and they've done some kind of cheapo movies in the past. Know nothing about it, but I enjoyed what was done by these two directors, and I thought it worked well. That was great. So I thought, well, if they're coming back, they just worked with Chris Pine, maybe they're gonna do the fourth. And then I read the rest of the press release, the rest of reporting on it. It's like, no, we're doing something completely different. It has nothing to do with the Chris Pine cast. And Chris here is basically just confirmed that it's dead. He sounds like he has no interest in returning to the franchise, although I think that might change if there's enough money put on the table. And who knows, maybe in another 20 years, it'll be like, we'll still be doing nostalgia bait and reboot bait and legacy sequel stuff, and he'll come back, and the Kelvin cast will come back. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, I don't know. But I, for one, as a Star Trek fan who likes a lot of different Trek, even the ones that aren't that great, even the ones that aren't that well received by most fans, this news kind of bums me out. I'm a little sad to see this franchise go, but the fact that these two directors did do a movie that a fantasy movie, something that's adjacent to the sci-fi realm that I really liked and thought they did a good job on, has me hopeful, if not optimistic, that the next iteration of Trek on the big screen might be good. Time will tell. We'll have to see. So what do you think? Are you a Trekker? Did you like the Chris Pine cast? Are you sad to see that era end? Are you looking forward to whatever iteration is going to happen here with this new creative team coming in? Or are you just done with Star Trek and couldn't care less at this point? Let us know in the comments. Also, once again, be sure to subscribe wherever you're getting this show. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, hit the hype button. Again, subscribe to the Film Nerd by Night YouTube channel. If this video is on a different channel, navigate to the Film Nerd by Night channel. I should have it tagged on the other channels because that's where all the movie-related content's going. Please consider supporting us on Patreon for full-length movie reactions, early access videos like these, and we'll see you next time.
Film Nerd by Night, created and hosted by Cole Powell. Theme, Beautiful Now, written and performed by Cole Powell, a Random Mind Records production. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.